Welcome. This
Yeah,
is
thank you.
you know what? This is so great. We've been talking about this since like the 60s.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
never we've not been able to do it. And I got to tell you. So, Grant, I want you to start by just, you know what? Tell everybody a little bit about what you do, what you offer, your website. I know you have a mindfulness meditation course coming up. Let's talk about that for a minute. Then we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes.
Sure, sure. So, my name is Grant. I'm from Nova Scotia. And yeah, I studied psychology in school, but then kind of branched off from the traditional schooling system and studied meditation, hypnotherapy, different things like that. Ran my own yoga and meditation studio for a while. And then, yeah, I just kind of started basically wanting to offer things to people because I thought we just needed help in different ways. So, what are some more accessible ways, maybe? If you can't
Mm,
afford to go to a bunch of therapy sessions, and meditation was one of those things. So
yep.
started that in like 2015, and I've been teaching meditation ever since, seeing one-on-one clients as well, doing mindfulness work, using some hypnotherapy to kind of treat, that good old yummy stuff we all got on the inside that we all got to dig up and deal with from time to time. And
The Cracker Jack box.
yeah, exactly. Like, gotta dive in there sometimes and help people with that a little bit. So just any little bits that I can do. And through my website, you can go to granthatcher.com. I kind of broke it down in two sides because I got the silly side of myself, but then
I
I got the
love that.
serious side too. So
I love it. I literally, when I went to your website, I burst out laughing because I remember you and I literally having that conversation a few weeks ago,
yes,
having two
yes.
very defined brands,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you were the one who inspired me to do it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
And then I
so
looked and
yeah.
I burst out laughing. I'm like, well, left or right? Where do you want to
Yeah,
go? Right?
yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, that's it. But I'm both of those things. So
Yeah,
I'm a little
yeah.
bit of those that all mixed into one. Some of the stuff is so serious, and like I've had serious things happen to me in my life, but it's at the same time, it's like we got to have fun with this life too, or it's just gonna suck, really. So
And you
even though
know
it's
what?
hard,
So many people are in the suck stage right
yeah,
now. Like
yeah,
I'm amazed at and I myself included. Like I've literally been doing the same thing. And you know what? I wrote down that stupid quote.
man, that sent you on a journey. Holy
It did.
smokes!
I know. I went right down the rabbit hole, right? I went right down the rabbit hole because I literally had stepped out of my comfort zone, and I did this video yesterday where it was about literally releasing a trauma that I was done carrying, completely done carrying, right? And so I did that. And then I read that and I'm like,
You're like,
shit, should I
yeah,
have? Oh my God.
yeah,
But you know what? I sat with it because I thought to myself, yes, 100% agree that this whole tainted self-love, which we're going to go there, right? Because it's so over the top. It's like, oh, you know what? Like that does not align with me. So ouch. Like that is
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
so prevalent today,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That we've forgotten how to be a community,
Yes. Yeah, I
right?
think we're it's like the pendulum, as the pendulum swings to one extreme, we learn that it's not the be all to end all. Just like that meme was one extreme of the pendulum, right? The
Yeah.
don't go too
Yeah.
far that way and isolate yourself. And what happened to you? You were like, "Oh yeah," but then you were like, "Wait a second. No, no, there's this other stuff, and you found the balance to
Yeah.
what the meme was capable of sharing, basically.
And that was it. It's like, you know what? Yesterday for me was a raw day. Like it
Mm,
was a raw day. And
mm-hmm.
because I felt very wounded, I felt like I finally, when you end up with amnesia for 4 hours,
Jeez.
it,
Yeah.
it, it literally stops you in your tracks to say, okay, what,
Yeah.
what do I need to let go of up here that no longer
Mm,
applies, right? and
mm.
it's and it's not necessarily about what doesn't serve you. It's about what is no longer healthy for you,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that was it. And so for me, it was also that 4 hours. Once I started getting my memories back, I started getting other memories back
Mm.
that were trauma blocked. right?
Mm.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm done with this shit. I'm done. I am done carrying this. I'm done protecting people. I'm done not speaking my truth because I know it's going to hurt people. And I know, and it did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like they came out guns loaded. And I was really, I I didn't delete the video on my Facebook, but I changed the settings on it because I thought, okay, I'm just gonna sit with that. I left it
Yeah.
on my TikTok because you know what? TikTok's like the Autobahn, man.
Everything goes.
Everything goes, right? And it's like, you know what? If you don't want to see my stuff, don't go to my TikTok. So
Yeah.
I left it there, but on my Facebook, I thought I'm just gonna sit with this for a minute. And then I read your meme and I'm like, oh, Grant.
Yeah. Why don't you read the meme so everybody
Okay,
knows
so
what it is?
let's go from there. So don't let this tainted self-love trend have you 50 and alone because you walked away from everything that didn't serve you instead of learning conflict resolution. That's the key word. So tell me, let's start with why you shared it. What inspired you when you read it?
I think it was that exact kind of vibe you referenced kind of at the start there. You know, I've been in several around spiritual communities or groups or things like that, different places in the world, you know, and it's that sort of the when we think of that traditional new agey person, you know, maybe who, you know, maybe even got into it a while ago, like, and they are just kind of like the high vibe sort of thing, you know, and they kind of actually what they end up doing is it's a great thing that they're finding that, but they tend to sometimes push things out of their life, you know what I mean, prematurely, you know what I mean, because they're not vibing the right way. Let's say an intimate relationship, you're in your 30s or something, like I'm in my 30s, let's just say I was married and had a kid, and all of a sudden I had this spiritual awakening, you know, my partner didn't, and I'm feeling so much more enlightened and all these things. I need all these more experiences, which could be true, but sometimes you just need to be patient and figure that out, you know what I mean, before you shut everything else in your life out, you know.
And file for divorce.
Yeah, and like I've literally seen this happen, you know, with people, and you know, and it's you know, you just are like, whoa, like yeah, you know, it's like easy. So that was what this was directed at. It was just those, you gotta, sometimes we mistake things that challenge us as something that's not good for us. Like not that's bad for us, but it's like not everything in life is going to be smooth and easy, even for the most spiritually enlightened person. And sometimes spiritual people think that once they get challenged, they're like, whoa, I'm walking away from this, instead of trying to resolve the situation, you know, work through the challenge. And so that was where it was directed at. Obviously, it's just a paragraph and can only encompass so much. So I said balance. Balance is key, is when I said
yes.
Yeah.
But here we are, right?
Yes.
Because it literally, it forced me to go into my head.
Yep.
And
you literally just cut ties almost verbally with the world on this relationship. You did the thing that the meme said not to do, basically. Yeah.
10,000%.
Yes.
Like I was all in, right?
Yes.
It was like, you know what? This is where I am. This is what my journey looked like. And you know what? I do that on my TikTok for two reasons. Number one is I believe, contrary to old world thinking, is that if we choose to take the path of a coach on as a career to work with people, it's imperative that we weave our story into that, because people need to know that we have these experiences.
Yes.
It's like you have a lot of your own stuff, heavy stuff, you know, that catapulted you on your journey, right?
Yes. I think it's a part of the human aspect. We need to be humans and connect with humans, and that's what's missing in the world.
Oh, so much. And so much more now because of, I call it the Great Divide, right? Of the last few years. And the reality is I respected both sides of the fence. I respected whatever your thought process were on what was happening and yours. I respected both bandwagons equally. I held no judgment, right?
Yes.
And that's how we all should have been.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's, you know, it's, I think what you did was some really healthy work, right? It's
Mhm.
okay, you can, okay, let's just say the same example. I'm 35, I'm in this relationship with this person, not vibing, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I try, I feel like let's work through this. And then another year goes by and it's the same things are happening and I'm not feeling fulfilled and we're not able to communicate and work through things or maybe there's some even, this isn't even an exaggeration, like some abusive type of things going on there, emotionally, physically, whatever, that
Yes.
happens in a
Yeah.
lot of relationships and we stay
Yeah.
in those relationships.
Yeah.
So that's when we've really got to look at those relationships and be like, okay, is this actually serving me? Is this actually working? Are there more red flags than green flags here and nothing's changed? Then maybe those are the relationships we do got to leave behind, because no matter how much you love somebody, sometimes it's just not working, whether that's a family member or a partner and it's really difficult to cut those ties because you love them, or at least you thought you did, and things, because love can complicate things a lot. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
gotta, yeah, yeah, gotta learn to leave those ones. And we've all probably learned that the hard way, right? Like I know I did. Yeah, I've
You
gone
know
through the
what?
ringer.
Right. And I mean,
Yeah.
I just like for me in my journey, I sort of, when I decided to want to put my feet back out into like the world of possibly dating last year,
Yeah.
I had no idea that, because I give everybody the benefit, like I believe you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I believe what you're telling me. And
Yes.
and I had friends when I started who'd been single for a while saying, you're gonna, and I'm like, no, he's really nice.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that though, it was a process of trying to define and connecting with what doesn't serve me, because I literally, my mind was not programmed to the current landscape, if that makes sense, right? My mind was programmed 20 some years ago
Right. Right.
when I was dating at that
Yeah.
time. And we
And
have
dating has
evolved.
revolutionized and since
Oh,
then. It's revolutionized in
yes,
the last 5, 10 years, so
right.
yeah.
So how do you step into that? So for me, it was trying to, and I'm just using this as an example, but trying to not assume every single male was an asshole, right?
Right.
Because you literally go in with, after a couple of things happen,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, you're just a dick. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's again too far over on the other side. So where do we
Yeah.
find that balance? Where do we find that balance in life where we meet people, and doesn't have to necessarily be romantic. It's in
Yeah.
relationships that we're in, family, colleagues, friends, acquaintances, whatever. You have that initial connection, and if you have any sense of feeling or sensing energy, you get that vibe, whatever that vibe is, immediately.
Mm.
And then it's like, how do we read that from being a programmed sensation of this does not serve me to
Right.
wait a minute.
Yeah. That's one of the harder ones, I think. That's one of the harder tricks, to discern your intuition from, you're wanting something or maybe your trauma, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you can have trauma, let's just say from shitty relationships. And then
Yep.
you go to try a relationship and immediately that trauma gets poked and your brain body says, no, 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 because this is where we got hurt last time. Or is this actually your instinct saying, no, 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 this guy's probably going to hurt you this time, and it's a really fine line, and it's hard. Like, I don't think there's any clear answer. I think the only real way is to do some healing work on yourself so you can learn to decipher and and practice being in tune with your body in peacetime, so that and invite those feelings in then when you're safe and don't maybe need to make an immediate decision and just play with them and roll with them a little bit. I think that would probably be the best way, but even then it's not easy.
It is really not. And I'll tell you something that has worked for me is because I'm also certified in shadow work. And so part of the shadow work is, of course, you're starting here. And then it's like, okay, so let's say I'm doing shadow work with you. Let's say you and I are in a relationship and something doesn't feel right. So I'm going to Grant. And then I'm going to start making my lines. What doesn't feel right? Well, you know what? I feel smothered, or I feel, okay, well, what else made you feel smothered? And it becomes this zigzag, which gets you to the end point. When you get to the end point, it's not Grant at all.
It's
right?
this thing that
It's
he's
this thing.
carrying, or something that's, it's always something unresolved in one or the other person. It's usually the unresolved things in both of them, kind of that the shadows come out at each other. Yeah.
And we've also become socially lazy. So why would we want to learn about ourselves or learn about a particular feeling when we can scroll social media for 4 hours and stimulate the brain?
It's dangerous. Me and my partner, kind of got into the little bit of the social media addiction. Like it's not even, it's so easy to just like pick up your phone and scroll for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes when you're feeling uncomfortable and you don't know why you're feeling uncomfortable. And you won't know why, because you've just distracted yourself. And like, I'm using this as, smoking or anything, anything you're consuming, a substance, a food, you're distracting yourself from what your body's trying to tell you, and again, I'm totally guilty of this. So we've been just trying to, just little moments of just no phones and just sitting there, little moments of mindfulness, and for me in the work that I do, it's about feeling that sensation in the body, working it out, you know what I mean? Because at first it's just like a, it's like, I don't want to tune into this feeling. It doesn't feel good. And then you project that onto people. It'll just go away. Yeah. So you distract yourself, or somebody could just do something simple and you're like, because this thing's at the surface for you and it's not them actually. They're just poking at the thing a little bit more. But when you feel it and sit with it, it's usually not at all related to this person. It could be, but a lot of the times it's something that happened 20 years ago. Some aunt said something that you weren't even thinking about, or sometimes it's just a feeling and you just got to feel it and let it go, but taking the time to sit with it and feel it and work through it, whatever way it is, there's no one way, there's millions of ways to get in there. But it's just not fun work. I call it, you got to take your physical poop and you got to take your emotional poop. We all go take a shit when we got to, and it stinks and it's not great, but we feel a lot better afterwards, right? We all got to go take our emotional poop and let it out. It's messy and it's not good, but you'll feel better afterwards usually. Yeah.
and you know what? Honest to God, it is like, I feel like I have been at an all-you-can-eat emotional shit buffet for like months, right? Months. Yeah. And it's like, I bring something to the surface and I'm like, okay, man, I'm golden, right? And then 2 days later, oh my God, because you've got it's like an onion.
Layers of onions.
It's layers. And
it's so forever. It goes forever.
It is. And so hi, Charlie. My dog is like right there. So you know what? I feel what was so profound to me with that particular quote was the fact, I want to circle back to conflict resolution. So conflict resolution, I feel like so many people the last 3 years, because they were in fight or flight mode for so long, their conflict sensors are worn out. They don't have it in them.
They're tired.
They're tired. So you know what? It's easier to take the shit. It's easier to not rip the Band-Aid. It's easier. And then what happens when you do that? Well, you get amnesia, right? Yeah. Because your brain all of a sudden decides, I got to protect you for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to disconnect from your body. I look at it as, was I going to have a stroke? Was I going to, like, what was about to happen to me that my brain said, no, we're going to stop this right now? Yeah. I don't know. And I don't really want to know, but for me, it was a huge, like, I'd never heard of that before in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
we're like, what the hell is a transient global amnesia? What is that? And it was literally, I'm sitting with a friend and bam,
Yeah.
I don't know who I am, where I am, what I'm
Wow.
doing. Like it's just, it was so
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah.
And so with that, after that, it was about really determining, so conflict resolution. So when I went down the rabbit hole yesterday, after I read the quote, and then I did the second video that you saw was about kind of how I analyzed it in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was about really understanding that with that particular situation, I had tried for years to address
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I thought was a healthy, respectful way was
Right.
to sit down with somebody in knowing full well, whatever that it was going to be uncomfortable, knowing
Yes.
full well to be prepared for that. And so what about if we looked at conflict resolution like, you know what? Here's the situation. Let's go back to, like you say, spiritual awakening. You're with your partner. All of a sudden, you guys are on both two different planes and it doesn't fit anymore. So in a situation like that, what would you suggest to start the conflict resolution process versus I want a divorce?
Yeah, I think, hopefully there's some level of successful communication between the two partners, that you can have a history of being able to feel safe having a conversation, because not all relationships are like that. Sometimes it's very one-sided conversations, very explosive conversations for whatever reason. But I think there's got to be some sort of communication level of what one or both of the people are feeling,
Yeah.
because sometimes we can feel something, and it feels intense towards our partner, but when we
Right.
express it, it feels way less intense. You know what I mean? So sometimes we have this thing and we're like, oh my God, and it kind of eats away at you. And then you express it and you're like, oh, and you're like, wow, I actually don't even feel it that much anymore. Like it just needed to express it. So we got to begin communicating, feel what you're feeling, like make sure you're comfortable and kind of know what you're feeling first, to do the, okay, yeah, I am feeling off here, there is a different level or something, maybe then the communication needs to happen, just kind of, and then see where they're at, what they're feeling. Maybe they're dealing with something that they haven't been able to communicate, and then you go from there, right? Then it's, can we work together to meet, or is this resolvable, or do we need to move on? Like that's kind of where, but that will all be different for every person. I think, though, it's tuning into
Oh,
what you
yeah.
feel and then communicate. You need to communicate.
And, I find sometimes in my own experience is if I start the conversation with, I want to try to make this as comfortable for both of us as I possibly can. So at any
Mm-hmm.
time, if you can let me know if there's anything I can do to make you feel better, to make you feel more comfortable, please just let me know. And
Yeah.
let's just, this is going to be difficult. Let's just try to work through this. And I found in my own life and relationships, and whether that be professional, personal,
Mm-hmm.
romantic, doesn't matter, by letting somebody know that, you know what, I care about how you feel as well as I care about how I feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's care about how we both feel, and then we
Yep.
can start to work through that. I am just going to quickly scan
Sure.
through. We've got, so, Natasha added to that about becoming present. Really, you know what? Great point, Natasha. So, as you know, in mindfulness, right? Being present is key. And if
It
we choose
is.
to do that,
Yeah.
takes us
It's
out
the
of,
answer. It's the answer, because if you're not present, then you react, because like you're communicating through all these walls and barriers that have been established, little bits of resentment, unresolved things between you and that person. The moment you become present, that stuff's still there, but you're not working through that anymore. You're able to work with it and realize it's there for what it is. So great point. I think you said it was Natasha, being present.
Natasha, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely key. Yeah.
And I feel I'm just going to quickly scan here. Oh, and we have a couple BAMs, so something we said was good. And she says, hi, Grant.
Hello.
Nicole, hi, Grant. And so I want to talk a little bit about boundary styles. So boundaries, I feel like boundaries are the foundation, right? Because generational trauma, societal programming, educational family programming, all of those sorts of things, like you said, Grant, earlier, the way that our brain is wired to think, feel, and act with particular situations that we're exposed to. We also have the ability to break those generational trauma cycles, to fully understand. So I want to talk about 3 different types of boundaries, and we'll do each one, and then let's chat about sort of what our thoughts are about those. So the first one is porous boundaries. Now, porous and rigid, and then of course healthy is right in the middle, but
Yeah.
let's start with porous. So porous, basically people with porous boundaries let almost anyone get close to them. They're overly trusting of others, even strangers. That's like the white van syndrome, right? You know, overshares personal information, has difficulty saying no to others, overly involved in others' problems, quick to adopt others' opinions, avoids conflict by giving in to others, does not assert personal values, and communicates passively. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, immediately listening to it, I was like, oh, I'm not that. But then I was like, oh, yeah, part of me's like that. And then it was like, so it's kind of, we probably have, again, the spectrum of these, like we're probably firm in some and healthy in some and probably maybe porous in others in ways, like.
Yeah. So let's go down through the rigid, right? So rigid. Now, what I have found, especially over the last couple of years and everything that has happened and transpired within the landscape on a massive energetic worldwide level, right? Boundaries have shifted because everybody was pushed in corners, so rigid boundaries keeps most people at a distance, very untrusting of others, very guarded with personal information, says no to others most of the time, detached from others' problems, tends to ignore others' opinions, avoids conflict by pushing others away, has flexible personal values, and communicates aggressively. Now, let's come into the center, right? Healthy boundaries. Selective about whom we let in and keep out.
Yes.
Takes time to build trust with others. Shares personal information appropriately. Able to say no when needed. Supports others, and that does not include just giving someone the finger as you walk away. I might be guilty. Okay. Supports others without being too involved, values both own and others' opinions, accepts conflict as a normal part of life, stands by personal values, but can adapt and communicates assertively.
Yes. So do that, whatever the middle thing is. Yeah. Yes. The relationship question you asked, do that one. Yeah.
Do that one. And, but also understand that you can't expect that immediately from the other person.
No. Yeah. Or yourself, it's hard because you're going to get triggered and you're going to, maybe tighten up or be looser or something, depending on your history. So it's a practice, right? I think that's with all of this stuff, like our parents and their parents never really learned much of this stuff at all, so we didn't learn it. We had no, work. So we're all fumbling and bumbling and trying to figure this out together. And I think if we could all just admit that, again, that human side of connection, I think helps loosen those maybe thicker boundaries, the tighter ones, so that because we're all suffering and trying to do our best here at the end of the day. And with that said, though, we can cut those people out that we don't want, as that says, so going back to that meme, you have the absolute right to cut anybody off at any point if you need to, so there's no bashing that. So I think that's important to say as well. Yeah.
And it absolutely is. And I feel like, so let's take a look at how we've, like you say, evolved, that our generation now is, we're all about feeling and thinking. We're all about, discovering and connecting and in honoring our own light and our own internal power and higher self and all those wonderful things, which is absolutely incredible. Fortunately, we've progressed within humanity that we just don't take people out back and shoot them anymore.
Yes, yeah, for the most part, yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's a Friday in Cape Breton.
Cape Breton, yeah. Jeez.
But so we're at a point now that, and now even younger again are really, really steadfast and hard fast, where I think that's where we get tainted. The tainted self-love trend. That stood out the most to me in that meme, because it really is, because it is like it's almost gotten so far to the other side that we don't give a shit about human kindness.
Yeah, in a sense, like, yeah, we've embraced individualism to the point, which is good, but maybe we're not as feeling connected to others, and self-love is vital. Like, you have, finding love for yourself is important, and it can be very difficult. I think it's probably one of the tougher ones to truly do and feel. And I think there's a lot of pressure too to feel self-love, and I know a lot of people don't. So there's other ways to feel love, and you can find and feel love in somebody else if you don't got it in yourself. Like, they can help show you, but at the same time, you still got to find your own self-love. Like, you really, really do. Yeah, we also are all connected. Like, this is like we're living in a big world soup here, and you're an ingredient and I'm an ingredient, and everything we think and feel adds to the flavor of the soup. We're not isolated characters. We are, in a sense, we're our own individuals, but we're a part of the soup as well. So everything we're doing and thinking is impacting everybody. So, that you need to operate, I think, in the world in that way. And I think that's not to say this is the problem with the world, but if we truly did feel that, like, if you truly feel that, oh my God, I am just like a single cell in this multicellular organism that is the earth, you can't not try to do good here in a way. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, but it's like, once you have that awareness, it's like, you can't almost not try to do better in a sense, and I think maybe we're missing that connection in a sense, it's causing this push away, like, I don't give a shit about others or whatever it is, and it's a little sad, hard to see.
It really is hard to see, because I feel like pre-COVID, we were really progressing in a big way towards community again, towards really reconnecting with each other, breaking bread together, spending time together, really understanding that the world had become very, very, very broken. And I remember when the pandemic first started, and I said to myself, you know what, this is going to be the reset that we need. And then all of a sudden, like, oh man, we've lost our bloody minds, right? Like, this is absolute insanity. We are fighting over toilet paper. Like, what is happening right now?
That was tough.
Right. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna drink.
Pretty much what we all did, I guess.
Right. And so that
eat chocolate and storm chips and things, and I don't know.
I know. And so now then we come out of it. But people don't understand the physiological effect that this has had on them, and the physical effect.
Oh man, incredible, absolutely incredible. Like, and I'm all for health and safety as well, so it's like, I don't know what the right answer is here. I'm not claiming to be an expert on it all, but I know psychology a bit, and the most important human need is human connection. That is the number one need. It is the number one need. And if we don't have that, we're not going to feel fulfilled in life. It's impossible unless you're a psychopath. And being a psychopath is truly, truly rare. They're very rare. It's, usually we're trauma burdened individuals, and we close ourselves off and appear like psychopaths. But those buzzwords, those are huge today. Everybody's a psychopath. Everybody's a narcissist. Yes. Very rare psychological phenomenon to be a psychopath. But I did some research in my psychology degree that I studied materialism, and why do we consume, and why are we over consuming, and what is this? So I did some cool things in that, and just from the beginning, once materialism research began in like the 50s. So basically we had World War I, really sucked, and everything sucked till World War II, and then it sucked again really, really bad. And then we were like, wow, war really sucks. So we're like, let's try not to do that. And then we had all this like nuclear family, everybody's got a dishwasher, everything's buying stuff. We're like celebrating, everything's great. And then that's when we really start to over consume en masse. And that's when we really start to study it in like the 50s. And since then until now, the underlying factor is because we're not feeling our intrinsic needs of humans, feeling love and connection. And we're trying to fill that with something else, but buying something or eating a new chocolate bar or taking another drink is only a temporary fix. It's not fully fulfilling. So we need more and we need more and we need more. And there's no end until you meet that intrinsic need of human connection. Yeah. That's it.
And you don't get it. And then what happens is, because you are using one of these other tools to give you this fake sense of connection, the dopamine rush, the whatever you're getting from that, then all of a sudden, maybe it's something along the lines of, maybe it's eating. So then you're putting on weight. So now you're getting frustrated that you're putting on weight, which is adding a whole other thing to it. Drinking, smoking weed, taking drugs, shopping, whatever. Then all of a sudden you're angry because you can't pay your mortgage, but that's a really nice purse. You know? And so then what happens then, because now the self-guilt kicks in.
Yes.
Let's circle back to conflict resolution again. You don't have the energy. Right? You don't have it. You just want to sit with your new purse and your bag of chips and your case of vodka.
Yeah.
You know, and completely ignore the word. So now let's go back to something that doesn't serve you. So when you're being exposed to a situation, is it not serving you from a genuine place? Or is it not serving you from a very traumatic, addicted space?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
How do you determine where you're coming? So
I think it goes back to Natasha's point, being present. You know, how present can you be in the moment? And again, this comes to how safe you feel with the person you need to be present with. But like, just being super present, it can almost force the other person to be present, because you're not yelling and screaming necessarily. You're saying, oh, I feel this, you know, like this is what I'm feeling. And maybe it's because I'm traumatized with relationships, or, you know, maybe it's because I actually feel a little uncomfortable about this situation and it's not quite serving me. It's not quite what I want, you know, and it can be both, right? Like it can be both of those things. And you don't know until you talk it out in the present moment, honestly. Like, I think that is key. And I guess from my experience of successful relationship, whether it's friendship or intimate relationship, is it's got to have that open and honest communication in the difficult moments. And you don't know where it's going to end. And that's what's scary about it. But you got to open it up and be present with yourself and your partner and let them, I know when I was in a relationship when I was 12, you know, this girl said this to me and it made me feel this way. And so maybe I'm feeling this a little bit now, you know, but maybe also what you're doing isn't something I actually want in my relationship, you know, so maybe there's a middle ground, or maybe, you know, so it's like, it's this unfolding of consciousness, unfolding of life in the moment. And if you can meet there together in safety, then it's really beautiful how quick you can actually work through those things. And it's amazing how many relationships ball these things up over time. And then it's like you're carrying this massive burden together, because you can't work through these things because it's too difficult, because you get triggered and you argue and you yell, you know, and it's a tough way to going that way, you know.
And it is. And the other problem that tends to happen with that is we get lost. We go into something and we're completely focused on what we wanted to accomplish right now in the present.
Yeah.
And then we get squirreled, you know. Then we get into the what ifs, what could have been, what's going to be, what's the what's. And it's so easy to get pushed in those other directions.
Yes.
I had a situation with a friend that I had chatted with I guess it was on the weekend. And so I'm chatting with my friend by text, and I just said, oh, how are you? And he responded with, he had had an injury and a death in the family. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, and then non-responsive for like 3 days, right? And you know what? I could have gotten super angry about that. I could have spam texted. I could have done a million things. What I chose to do was, you know what? When he's ready, I'll talk to him. So now we connected, and I said, I thought you were in an accident and your family member died.
Okay.
And he's like, oh my God. Right? So that's how I interpreted the information. How I chose to handle the information was stay cool, stay calm. There's nothing to worry about. It's all going to work itself out. You don't have to freak out. His response was, oh my God. I never even thought of that. So see, right? That is a prime example of a situation that could have gone south super fast.
Yes.
Had I have not chosen to stay present.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And we all have that ability to slip out of being present, and reacting, getting into that reaction mode, and, just by becoming present there, you're able to prevent that from happening, and how often does that happen when we assume that this is what this person meant when they said that? Like that's what we did our whole lives, as kids. Like somebody could say the most meaningless thing, but for whatever reason, it just hit us right in the, and we carry it with us for the rest of our lives, when we don't know. How often is true communication happening? Like very rare.
Okay. So let's go back to when Facebook first rolled out. Okay. Yeah. How exciting was it that you're finding these high school mates and these people that you hadn't seen in years and whatever? I'm like, I wonder if she's still a bitch. But it's literally how the brain is wired.
Right.
And I'm sure people said that about me too, but it shows you.
I mean, like all of us, like, what I mean? Yes. Like, of course you. Yeah.
That's right.
Obviously.
Obviously, yes, I am. But I wear that crown well. It showed me to step back and really understand, oh my God, like I've not seen this person in like, I don't know, at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And my first reaction would be the programmed memory.
Yeah. Which is also fine in a way, right? Like, we need that stuff too, right? Like, and I think we can kind of demonize that stuff sometimes, the automatic, even the our egos, right? Like if we didn't have the ego, we would kind of just be like fluffs in the wind floating around. You know what I mean? Like we need that thing to fall back on that kind of sets the rules and defines things a little bit, even though it's a little wacky and a little possessive and crazy and, and all that stuff. Like, but, I love when you meet somebody like however many years down the road and they're just not at all who they were before, and you're like, whoa, man, like in a good way, like not to say they were, but they just evolved and they've grown and they face some life, and it's like cool, like wow, like might not talk to you again for another 20 years, but it's like neat, it's like I love that moment.
I love it when we connect with people on such an amazing mental level. How you bypass physical appearance, you bypass all of those things, you literally connect brain to brain, and that synergy becomes real, and versus connecting, let's say, I don't know, heart to heart, sacral to sacral, as an example. That's where we start getting into, does this serve me? Because we're stuck in that.
And that's where the juicy stuff is down there. That's where the trauma is. That's where the pain is. And, it's hard stuff to get through for all the reasons we've already said. Is it trauma? Is it intuition? Is it that? And it's messy down there and it's not always clear, but just having some faith, having some trust, practice, all the good stuff, and just being present, and vulnerable, and also taking breaks. Like, you don't want to do the work all the time, like sometimes the
Yes.
work can find you, like it's kind of seems to be doing, like you said, piling on the plate a little bit, but you need to also just like step away and get space sometimes from talking things out, or working through your own trauma, and then come back to it again. It's like writing an essay. You rarely hammer it out the first time. You
No.
work at it, you step away from it, you reread it again, and and it's a process. It's like it's art. It's art. There's no 1, 2, 3, we're done. It's maybe 1, 2, go back to 1. Oh, we're at 3 now for a while. No, we're back at 1. So it's not linear, I guess.
I love that, because the non-linear approach. I love that, because you're right, it is art, because sometimes we create something and it isn't what we had envisioned. So you know what? We are fully within our rights to do a do-over.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I kind of like kind of where we are, but I kind of want to add this. So here's some I actually also pulled a document let's go over some self-care tips, because I feel like people get caught in the whole self-love from a vanity standpoint, right?
It's trendy.
It is trendy. It
Yeah.
is. If I'm going to go on TikTok and I'm going to use that filter, and I'm going to make myself look like I just had plastic surgery and I'm 14, and then you literally, and it's again the power of the mind. Like you start to see yourself as that person.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You do. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and like, the hell is that?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy. So let's go back to, let's separate self-love, self-care, because if you focus on self-care, it automatically intertwines into full spectrum self-love.
Right. Yes.
Right. So self-care, it has to. Self-care means taking time to do things you enjoy.
Yes.
Usually self-care involves everyday activities that you would find relaxing, fun, or even energizing. And these activities could be as simple as reading a book or as big as taking a vacation. This does not include scrolling.
Yeah.
Right? Disconnecting is vitally important, because I don't think people understand, when you're scrolling, you're completely disconnected from your body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're firing in a different place, and your consciousness is it's somewhere else, and and the self-care, it's you can't almost not help yourself if you don't care and love yourself in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, it's the act, even if you sucked at trying it, the fact you tried is a sign that there is some self-love in there. So I like that.
Absolutely. Taking care of yourself, which I think is also, we tend to have, I believe, a self-sabotage mechanism built in us, right?
Yeah.
And so making sure that you're having regular meals, getting enough sleep, taking care of your hygiene, anything else that maintains good health. You know what? Somebody said to me one day, they were talking about how their teeth were rotten when they were going through depression. And I said, "Oh, why? What do you mean?" And said, "Because I just kept forgetting to brush my teeth." And so it's okay. You know what? If you're in a dark place, make a list of what you need to do every day, and stick with your list, right?
Yeah.
Making self-care priority. This is also something that we are taught is vain, that if we put ourselves first, we're selfish.
Yes. It's the balance, right, to all this stuff. I think we live in a very dualistic world where there's light and dark, there's yin and yang, there's masculine and feminine, and everything in between. And one without the other couldn't exist. If it was all darkness, then it'd be pitch black and there'd be nothing. If it was all light, it'd be blinding and we wouldn't see anything, So we got to learn to self-love, but we also got to learn to work together. And it's, all of these dualities, sometimes we see them as like a fight. It's like,
right.
And it's like, and at the end of the day, we always go, you know what? It's a bit of both. So it's about learning, I find, to dance with these dualities in the world and learn to make this an experience of, maybe, you're trying to find some boundaries. You're dancing. You're like, oh, no, can't do this. Okay, we're moving here now, instead of this angry thing or this, and sometimes maybe it has to be angry or whatever. But I think the more we can find the dances, then the more we'll move smoother to this reality anyway, is what and then again, you're not going to be perfect even with that realization. So.
And how great would it be if we adopted the feeling that whatever the outcome is perfect?
It is, and it truly is, even if it's terrible, as like tough as that is to accept, like I've found through terrible realities, something beautiful does come from it. Like you got to give it time and things like that. It doesn't mean what happened was okay, especially if somebody hurt you. But it is the reality now. So what are we going to do now? And it tends to, and part of life is death. And, part of this stuff that is difficult is what makes it beautiful in a way. Like, again, not justifying terrible things at all. I think we can find a better balance where we can lessen some of the intensity of these things and find more peace and harmony here together. But, it's yin and yang, baby.
Isn't it? Isn't it? And you know what? It is like every now and then I'm like, Yang, you're an asshole. Like,
yeah.
Stop, but
yeah.
Again, it goes back into, we have a societal programming of, we have to be a certain way. We can't be too feminine. We can't be too masculine.
Yes.
We can't.
Yeah.
You know what? You can be whatever you need to be. And then this goes back again to, because people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, how the hell do I determine what is what serves me? This is where, go back to, you're on an airplane. Start there. And you're sitting, you get in your seat and you put on your seatbelt and they start the safety display, right? And here he's going through the whole thing. And she says, in the event the oxygen mask falls from the overhead compartment, place it on your face first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you cannot help anyone else around you if you are not getting oxygen.
Right.
So if you take the analogy that self-care and self-love is literally giving yourself oxygen. Now, when I say self-care and self-love, I don't mean going back to what you said earlier about tapping into those unhealthy habits like shopping, drinking, smoking, overeating, whatever, right? You're feeding the dopamine bug.
Yes.
There. That's a whole other video series.
Right? Distractions more than anything. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just,
which is okay to some extent. We're allowed to have those too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to quickly scroll down. Self-care means taking care of yourself. It is not vain. It is making yourself a priority, making sure your foundation is strong. Setting goals. What does self-care look like for you? For me, self-care for me is allowing myself specific time during the day where I sit silently for a few minutes and just focus on my breathing. Mm-hmm. It is going hiking. It is taking the dog for a walk. That is how I nourish my self-care. Mm-hmm. And occasionally it's a piece of ooey gooey birthday cake.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
Reminding yourself that there is absolutely zero timelines on that. If you do self-care for 4 minutes a day, you did it for 4 minutes.
Yes.
Not no minutes, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Here we go. Unhealthy activities don't count as self-care. Substance abuse, overeating, unhealthy behaviors that hide uncomfortable emotions temporarily.
Yes.
But they end up causing more problems in the long run.
Yes. Yeah.
And then keeping up with your self-care. The thing is we so quickly come out of the gate full of piss and vinegar, man. And we got a plan. New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
You know, gym memberships, I bet, make the bulk of their annual membership.
100%. They got to. They have to. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Because 3 weeks in and you're like,
yeah. And you just finished eating all your Christmas stuff, so you're like, I need to do something with this. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Or even as a present, maybe you got it. Yeah.
I mean, It is what I love about where we're going as a society, and seeing these things and understanding. I want to circle back to the meme again, is understanding when how easy it is for someone to take this meme, right? Which is also written on the back of a law of attraction check, by the way, which is funnier, right? They'll take that meme and use that as an absolute.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I am done with self-love and self-care because it's bad.
Yes. Yeah. It's about the balance. It comes back to that, right? And when, because there's always these two sides to everything. Like, look at our politics. It's this party or that party. One says this thing, one says that thing. We do this for a little while and we get sick of it. And we go to the other one. We do that for a while. We get sick of it. It's like, obviously some sort of integrated balance between the two is going to be what's needed here to survive, and stuff. So I think if we can understand that a little bit when we're communicating or sharing these things or reading these things, that it's not the be all to end all. It's a little quirk that works in certain situations. How could you would need to write books upon books to talk about, and there's been millions of books on self-love and relationships and stuff. So that little meme ain't going to cover it, So just the balance, I think, is what I find is just a key for me to be sane when I'm reading these things. Just find the balance with these things,
And let's circle back for a couple of minutes too about really defining the meaning of serve you, right? So when you hear that, because I use that a lot within my own, when I'm writing content for my own work and stuff like that as well, right?
Yes.
Because it for two reasons. Number one, it resonates with me.
Yes.
But I also understand that balance, right? Of defining what that truly means inside and how it resonates and feels and all those sorts of things, right? But the other side of it too is because we have, since the world reopened, again, we had two very definitive sides during that, the us and them sides. But now we also have the pandemic paralysis. Now I'm going to jump out of an airplane. Two very different psyches came out of that lockdown, right? Because people went into, okay, I'm just going to stay here forever and be scared.
Yes.
To, I just lost 2 years of my goddamn life, man. I'm like making time up. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whew, two very different psyches. So then again, how do you get back into the what serves you? Because how do you really define what that feels like for you, and what is really telling you what serves you, or what is your programming telling you?
Yeah. I think, to touch on that, what you just said too, is that it was difficult to self-care during lockdowns. It was difficult during COVID when it was at its peak. And, it still is maybe for some people who are still terrified, to go outside and for certain reasons, So I think, again, you just got to come back, though, to yourself and be present with yourself in the moment. Like, what do I need now in this moment? And maybe you've been so stimulated with whatever it is, too much TV, too much work, you've been too busy, and you don't got the time and energy to go meditate or anything or have a difficult conversation. And maybe you just need that chocolate cake, and that's what you need in that moment. You know what I mean? If you find yourself doing that every other moment, then, that's probably not the right choice. But maybe in that moment it was, and then being like, okay, well, in this moment, I have been really missing friends, but maybe I'm a little scared to go connect. How can I find a way to connect? You just got to try to find a way, in that moment to do what serves you. And if you're in a relationship or anything, or even just a friendship, honoring your partners or friends' needs and what they need, because it might be different from yours. And and honoring your own within that relationship that might be different from them. We need to do those things, because if we don't, it will build resentment, whether it's towards yourself or the other person. So, it's vital to take these moments of self-love, self-care, to just take care of yourself, again, whatever that means in the moment for you.
So I feel like dissecting. So let's dissect the meme. So don't let this tainted self-love trend have you 50 and alone. Let's go there. So it doesn't have to be tainted.
No.
Understanding self-love and self-care are invaluable for your strong foundation
Yes.
within healthy boundaries and limitations
Yes.
of your needs.
And you can healthily cut people off too.
Yeah. Oh, really? No. What do you mean? No, I'm kidding. But yes, you can. One of the healthiest things that I have seen evolve over the last few years, especially people who are within a more spiritual group of individuals, will look at somebody honestly say, Grant, I don't have any energy to give you right now.
Yes.
How raw and honest is that?
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's so better than them forcing themselves to, and then me feeling mad at them because they're not giving me enough energy, and them feeling mad at me because they're giving me energy they don't have. You know what I mean? Like, it's that honesty, about being present. That's a part of the present, right? You're present with it. Yeah. Thanks, Natasha.
Yes, that's our word, Natasha.
Yeah.
Because you walked away from everything that didn't serve you. So again, we're going back to defining what healthy boundaries are for you.
Yes.
To allow you to fully understand, by practicing self-love and self-care, you are increasing your own internal vibration and frequency. It is balancing the energy systems within the body. It is clearing the mind. It is allowing you to sit and learn to be within the present moment. When you do that, you can better feel if this serves you, because you're feeling what it feels like right now without fear or anxiety.
Yes. Yeah. Any sort of narrative around the thing, Yeah. And that's it, it's sometimes it takes time to feel that out. Sometimes you can know right away. Just I guess, take a moment before you make a rash decision. And if you make a rash decision, then you can only just be present from there, right? It's just that each moment demands us to, so that's the only way we can truly feel and figure these things out. And if you make a rash decision from completely not being present, okay, then roll from there. We're not going to be perfect with it. You're going to make mistakes. You might cut people off you shouldn't have, or you might stay in relationships you shouldn't have, and that's okay too, right? We're learning.
You might whatever,
Yeah, we're learning, we're growing, Yeah, it's and sometimes it feels good to stand up and be like, rawr, and maybe it didn't need to be so rawr, but it felt good to do that, and in a sense.
Really worked out that throat chakra stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a healthy relationship, those conversations can happen where, hey, I overreacted back there, but I felt like I had to because it was really, and then hopefully that person can understand and you can work through those things as well, and the power of being present in relationships is it's fascinating. And going back to our meme there, it can help us discern what's serving us and discern what's not. And and even when you're 50, you can find a new relationship, you can find this, or 80, or it doesn't matter, age. We're really, I think, cracking that stereotype down. We can recreate ourselves and find new ways at any point. We kind of got our set way of stuff, but we can still change and grow and find new things at any point in life. Like there's no, okay, we didn't figure it all out by the time we're 20, it's over.
Right?
Which we were all kind of forced to think and believe there for a while.
But it's also this whole thing about, when you hit the 50 mark. I mean, when I hit 55, I'm like, woo, right? And then when I hit 56, I'm like, oh. But then as I was getting up to that 56th birthday, that's when my brain broke, right?
Right. Interesting.
There's a whole lot of very interesting components around all of that that I've really been able to analyze and piece together, that I'll be able to teach, honestly, and I look at that. But we have the ability, like you say, to choose to be in the present, to choose to understand why shitty things happen, and to not own those shit. We don't have to own the shitty things. We don't have to own the energy that came with the shitty things, the emotions, the frustration, the anger. We can sit with that for a minute, but don't let it drown you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, give yourself a designated time to be sad, mad, angry, self-pity, whatever it is you're feeling.
Yeah.
Don't not let yourself feel.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. And
Because
sometimes there's no real answer to the feeling. It's just the feeling, you know, I just mad. I don't know why, but I am. And then that was it. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's usually my neighbor, but other than that, I mean,
and speaking of present moment, I hear my dog whining outside my door here, so I'm going to have to take her outside.
Like, we've gone over an hour, so let's wrap up by saying conflict resolution. So again, this is the end of the meme. Learning to step into your own power, learning what conflict resolution looks like. Healthy conflict resolution. You're not attacking, you're not insinuating, you're not doing all those things. You're sitting down, having open dialogue where you're putting your needs and feelings on the table, and you're allowing time for them to do the same, and you're listening. And it's going to feel shitty.
Yep.
It's going to make you angry, probably. It's going to make you sad. It's going to make you all of these emotions. Again, sit in the present. Why is it making you feel that way?
Yeah, exactly.
So to wrap up, Grant, what would you like to?
I would just like to say thank you for kind of like sharing your journey of seeing that and what you went through, you know, and your honest, I think, openness with what you went through is kind of just like a metaphor to everything we just said, you know. Oh, you felt this, but then you felt that, and then you came to this place. You're like, okay, no, this is where I'm at with this thing, you know. It takes some time to figure out what's serving us, what's right, what's not, but then we can come to that place, you know, where, okay, we feel more solid. And you literally went through it. So you're like, no, I made that right decision that I had to make, you know, and that was what was healthy for you, because you found out what served you by feeling into yourself, you know. So it's practice, and we're not going to be perfect at it, and it's okay to make mistakes, and you know, it's okay to have shitty days and shitty times, and we all have them, but it's important to take breaks and have fun and all that stuff too, because you got to, it's too tough of a life out there. So, and
find a way to release that works for you. Doing videos is my release.
Yes,
because I'm able to go back and listen to myself. And that is that helps me personally process that data. That works for me. It may not work for you. So it's literally finding the release that works for you. It could be journaling, it could be hiking, it could be meditating, whatever that release is for you. Own it, honor it, and take it.
Absolutely.
Do it, because tomorrow is never promised.
That's right.
Live today. Anyway, Grant, we should do this again, friend. This was wonderful. And
100%.
You know what? We got to get one with Josh. I feel that
a three-way.
Get one with Joshy for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am going to, this will be on my page as well. Okay. I'm going to take a look at we've got open communications, good energies. We got more comments that I was missing. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Everybody that came and whoever's watching it after when the on-demand version is on there. Thanks so much, Grant. Again, website, what do you have on the go right now that I think you've got a course or something coming up. Has it started yet?
Yeah, you can go to my website. You can download it. You can just listen to the intro for free, just to see if it's something you vibe with. And it's an intro to meditation program, which basically just teaches you to be present within your body. What is presence? What is your awareness? How do we move our awareness into our body, out of our thoughts, onto other things? And right now I'm creating another program, kind of like how to use that into delving into your spirituality. And I'm going to kind of like, that's the basis for all the work that I'm kind of trying to do. So if you go to my website, granthatcher.com, GrantHatcher.com. You can find all that stuff there. And I'm on
Left or
YouTube,
right?
and I'm on TikTok, and I'm just making little videos and things, just kind of like what we're talking about here, because life is tough. I've had tough times, so it just feels good to me to kind of help out and teach some of the things that I'm learning. And like I said,
Yeah.
I'm just somebody bumbling along here as well, learn some things and feel obliged to teach them as well. So
We have been called, friend. And
yes,
at the
yes,
end of the day, and we have been called, but we also have to pay our bills. So anything that
yes, there we
people
go.
could buy from us is greatly appreciated.
Yes, we do appreciate those things.
Anyway, friend, take care.
All right,
And
Deanna,
yeah, you know what? Let's figure out when we want to do this again. And
for sure.
I'll DM you where it's going to be, where you can get the files and
Yep,
share and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
perfect. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for being
Bye.
here.